Hello, everybody. It's my pleasure today to reintroduce Sheila Woodhouse. We've spoken to her several times in the past. A number of us I know have been down to see the different facilities that Sheila's been working with all these years. I'm going to read something just directly from the Nazareth Community website, actually. Homes, not shelters. Nazareth Community is a nonprofit, not-for-profit organization in the Ville-Marie district, providing housing with support for individuals who struggle with mental health issues, homelessness, trauma, and addictions. Our residents enjoy celebrations, pet therapy, music, student interns, medication distribution, and individual treatment plans. This client-driven approach is supported by a trained, empathetic staff and assisted by our volunteer board of directors. Many of the residents' home before was actually the streets. We are non-denominational, transgender friendly, with the goal to increase hope and opportunities to mitigate the risk of long-term homelessness. I think that says it all, Sheila, and I know you've got a lot more to tell us. So please take it over, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Well, thank you very much, Jim, and thanks for inviting me here today. It's always a pleasure to speak to the Rotary Club. And we have been in collaboration for quite a long time. I remember when Peter came in with the gang and painted our apartments on Hope Street. But time flies, and here we are post-COVID, and it would be a pleasure to be able to also do this in person. So for those of you who, and Jim, thank you. You started my talk, actually. And for those of you who don't know our organization very well, I thought I would talk a little bit today about what we've been up to in the past few years, and just to give you a better idea of what's going on our streets right now in Montreal. So I've been executive director of Nazareth Community for 11 years now. We have 4 residences. We have Anne's house for women. We have John's house for young men, and I'll have an opportunity to talk about this a little bit further. We have Nazareth House, and we also have our newest addition, 1218 Seymour, where I am right now. I'd like to be able to start by saying that even with COVID, we've been open every single day. Even with our moving, we're open every single day. And we've been very, very fortunate by we haven't had a lot of COVID cases, but what we're seeing now, and we're seeing this on the streets as well, mental health issues have certainly been exacerbated by COVID. So as Jim explained a little bit about our model, we are not considered transitional housing. We're not believers in that model that you have 3 months sort of to get your life together, and then you move on. So what we see is that people who are in the shelter system, the 3-month system, what they do actually is go from house to house, from shelter to shelter in a 3-month period. So we don't do that. We want people to come in, to relax, to unwind a little bit, because living on the streets takes a lot of courage and it's exhausting. And then people, to the best of their ability, can move forward with some of the programs that we have. Everybody always asks me, like the foundations will ask, what is success? And for us, success can be somebody telling us that they slept through the night for the first time, that they had a good night's sleep and they weren't afraid. And I think that that's really important. Success is also having one of the young people go back to school and complete a degree and then come and visit us later. But it's really on the spectrum, and I think that's really, really important. So in our houses, and actually I have my greyhound with me right now who's crashed. We've got dogs and we've got cats, and we do have young people. What we have is a home environment. We have tea time and activities, and right now we've got Christmas trees up and the house smells, somebody's been baking or there's been a baking class. And what this does really, it just reinforces our community. And again, it's how people heal, because we know that people who have mental health issues and homelessness are extremely isolated. So just to be in this type of environment is very, very healing. Because when our residents arrive, and many arrive directly from the streets, what we do immediately is we provide a safe space. I'm also a very big believer in you have fresh sheets, you have shoes that fit you, they're not secondhand, that you have a lot of people come in, they have no undergarments because it's not the type of item you can get secondhand and they can't afford it. So we make sure they have clean and new and fitting underwear, just the basics to start to heal. And we're very fortunate too, because Vans, Lululemon, I mean, Westmount itself has been so supportive. We have many organizations that will provide us with this type of new merchandise so that we can outfit our spaces and make them cozy and comfortable. So we're open from 8 in the morning until 6 at night. And what I had mentioned is that, yes, we were open every day during the pandemic. And we deal directly with the hospitals and the CLSCs and the shelters to support our residents. And as we all know, unfortunately, the hospital system is very, very stretched. So more and more is on the backs of our teams. But in my staff here, we have social workers, we have backgrounds in psychology, criminology, we have Indigenous workers on site. So we really have a wide variety of expertise, and we really depend on the community. For example, Women Aware is an excellent group. And so for the women that come in that from conjugal violence, we're able to connect them with somebody who has more expertise than we do in a certain matter. Or if you're transitioning, we will connect you with Aztec to support you along that path. Because we're certainly not experts in everything, but it gives you an idea of how important the community is for us. So a little bit about our homes, and it's been of course, always a busy time. Some of you that are aware of Nazareth House itself, which is 1197 and 1199 on Seymour, is under major renovations. And we're doing this because it was overdue. The building needs to be repaired. So we thought this is a perfect time to reduce our energy footprint, to add more space, to consolidate our kitchen, because we have 4 houses at this time. While that's happening, we have John's house also on the same street for young people, because that was just really anecdotally, we noticed that a lot of the applicants coming in were young people, especially coming in from the addiction centers. And then we have Anne's house around the corner for 28 women. And I'm just going to interject here because we've met 800 women and we have 28 spaces. The needs of women are just getting larger on the streets, and I wish we could have more houses to help the ladies. While this was going on, I was thinking, okay, where are we going to go? Where are the offices and the residents? Where are we going to go while we're doing the renovation? So, well, 1218 across the street came up for sale. And for some of you that know our board of directors, this was, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's buy this house. So we put all our pennies together. We are now, right now, where I am is in 1218. So what's really important about this was that we were able to maintain the kitchen. We were able to have the admin offices. We could also house some people, and we kept the core of the house for the security too of our residents, that despite the changes, despite COVID, despite so many things that have gone on in the past couple of years in our moves and Father John passing away, that we're still here and we still have this main space. So it's been really, really nice to have 1218. And we had our architect, of course, a volunteer, come in and do the design. So we're really going to be able to open the door between 1218 and John's house, and it will be quite fluid, and it's going to be a really nice space as well. So when all this is said and done, I do invite you to come and have a look at the houses. So another thing that we're always doing is we have to look at what the needs of the people are and how we can help. And one of the things that we noticed, especially with the young people, and this is from actually a stat from Raise the Roof. If you're on the streets for 2 years, you have less of a chance of kind of reintegrating into community. So our idea is to circumvent, as Jim mentioned, circumvent long-term homelessness. How we can do that is through a variety of ways. We're dealing with, I would say 80% of the residents on site have addiction. So we have addiction management, but we also started a few months ago, a relationship with Corrections Canada. So some of these young people, particularly the young men who, for whatever reason, mental health related and drug related, they have a criminal charge, but they don't belong incarcerated because of their mental health. So what we do is work directly with the parole officer, and we have people on site that can circumvent the jail system. And this way they can get back on track faster and rehabilitated faster. And I'm not quit, it's working out extremely well. And we're really happy because a lot of the young people that end up in Pinel, they don't belong there, frankly. So who are our residents? I thought this was really interesting. A while ago, I'm listening to a couple of residents talk, and one of them, I asked this young man, I said, how did you ever learn to speak Chinese? And he said to me, well, I was a Cirque du Soleil trapeze artist in Shanghai for 2 years. So we have a trapeze artist at Nazareth. We have military personnel. We have parents. We have 2 engineers on site, actually. And I think it's so important to note that mental illness, mental health issues is in every family. 1 in 4. So our model, we really say there is no us and them. What I do, I speak at McGill a fair bit, and when I speak to the students, if there's 100 kids there, I'll say to them, okay, out of this 100, about 40 of you have a mental health issue, and 25 of you have an addiction that go with it, so that there is the impact of understanding how many people are affected. Nobody chooses to be schizophrenic. Nobody chooses to live on the streets. And I think that this us and them, where we're really advocate really, really strongly for our residents, that there is no us and them. We're just very thankful that we're not one paycheck away. I liked your quotes at the beginning, and I had one myself that I found very impactful. Gandhi said, no one is born poor. Society makes one poor. Gandhi also called poverty a moral collapse of society. So what's really interesting too about this is that we're trying our best to open houses because there is no housing. If you receive social assistance, $650 a month, and the average studio apartment in downtown Montreal, where we're located around Shaughnessy Village, is $1,200. People are making very, very costly decisions to their own health right now. There's a term that I've just come across. It's called energy poverty, which is, what are you going to choose? To have heat or medication, or to have food or to have heat? I'll give you an example. There's a woman that I met. She is working. She's receiving minimum wage, and she is so thankful that the owner of the coffee shop allows her to sleep there. She's recently divorced, could not afford the apartment that she had lived with her husband for over 20 years, was able to get a job, but it's not enough to survive. They're having a job, especially minimum wage, especially with the loss of minimum wage jobs because of COVID and so many restaurants and places closing. there is not a living wage. I mean, and this is perpetuated, and there is a true gender bias that we're noticing too, that it was mostly women who lost their jobs more than men. And a woman who is in this situation depending on her partner for funding and then loses her or divorces, loses that relationship, often end up on the streets. This woman felt fortunate that she could sleep on the floor of the coffee shop. One of our other residents spoke to me, Martin, and she was explaining what her day was like. And she said, this is so wonderful that things are open now. This is a day post-COVID where you get up in the morning from the shelter. It's 8:30 in the morning, you have to be out the door. So where do you go in the wintertime? She would go down into the metro because she could be safe there. There was enough people around. Then she would go to the library because she could use a bathroom. She doesn't have sanitary products, so she could use the paper towel there. And then what happens if you're hungry? One of the tricks is you go to an AA meeting because you can have coffee and you can get cookies. Behind Tim Hortons is also, tends to be food in the garbage. I mean, people are telling me this very matter-of-factly. For the women, and sometimes you'll see the outreach workers handing out sandwiches. Well, the women will not go and get the sandwiches because then it shows that they are homeless and then they become a target. So to have people who are working explain their day to me, and then the ones who are not working, it's incapable of working, and how they're just getting through the day. So there's no opportunity to get ahead in these circumstances. So what our team will do, will advocate. We will accompany somebody to an employment office. We'll accompany you to your doctor's appointment. We'll walk you through the forms that you need, because this is also very overwhelming. But the first thing we want to do is make sure that you are safe. You've got a door you can lock. You can sleep through the night. You've got time for your medication. And this is how we see our residents move forward. What we're also seeing too is more refugees coming in, and more people coming in, not with mental health issues, but because of abject poverty. So once you're in our housing model, then you can start to reestablish yourself. And these are true success stories when we're meeting with people who are coming from war-torn countries, leaving their children behind, living with us, establishing a job, establishing a place to live after with us, and also getting their children afterwards. I mean, these are the beautiful stories that we can share with people, and these are the people that we're helping. I'm not looking at the time. I tend to talk a fair bit, but I thought I'll give you an opportunity to have for your questions. But I did want to say that it's so important too for us to know that there's people in our community that are supporting what we're doing. Having an opportunity to speak is, I'm very grateful, because it just opens, if it opens just one more door to support. And I know I'm preaching to the converted, because the Rotary Club, this is your mission as well, is to help the unfortunate. And it's extremely, I'm extremely honored and sincerely appreciate being here today. I'd like to thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila.
I had to
I'm
try
gonna
to
start
cut
off.
my time.
No, you're fine, actually. You did very well. If you want to keep going, I'll even give you a few more minutes.
No, it's okay. I would keep going and going. That's I usually have an alarm so to stop my talking.
Something, a lot of the things that you were talking about there made me think about there's a faction in the government that would like to go for a guaranteed minimum income. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. We need a living wage. Absolutely. They have to. I mean, it's especially now with what we see with inflation and food costs. They've gone up 10%. This is just, it's not sustainable.
And $650 doesn't go very far.
No.
Absolutely. What is the average length of stay, or it's not like they're staying short term, but what's the average length of time that somebody will stay in one of your houses?
We find that the young people move fairly quickly. So I would say John's house about a year. And Anne's house is closer to 2 years. And some of the men, I mean, there's two or three men that have been here since before my time. I mean, one of the gentlemen has been here since 1980.
Oh.
So it's a long, and there's quite a range.
Anybody else have questions before I keep talking?
I have a question. I'm just trying to picture what a typical day is like. You're open from, sometime in the morning till, that's when you're running your programs, and then people are living there as well, or?
Yes, the people live here, but we do not have 24/7 coverage. It's just too impossible to get staff to come in overnight, and we're not considered a crisis center. So the staff is on site in the morning, 3 meals a day, activities. The gentlemen and the women can come and go as they like, but they also know that we're there for the support. Over 50% of the women at Anne's house are out all day. They're working or they're in volunteer programs. So that's why we tend to see some of the ladies after work. But a typical day, it depends on the day. And sometimes we have to stop everything because there's a crisis. It's the gamut. We will say to people today, on a day like today, maybe it's not the best idea to wear flip-flops and shorts. You might want to put on a coat and boots. Do you have a coat and boots? To suicide intervention, where somebody will knock on a interventionist's door and say, well, I want to kill myself. It's the gamut.
Oh, hello.
Go ahead.
Just before COVID, a whole painting team from Westmount Rotary finished off the men's residence on Hope Street.
Mhm.
Had an awful lot of fun doing it. I almost poisoned myself, but I'm still here today to talk about it. And, after that, a lot of things happened. Anne's house opened shortly after that. Then John's house opened just shortly after that again. And there's great tribute to Father John Walsh, who we all loved.
Mhm.
And now I hear there's a lot of construction going on. So the world's best painting team is ready and available when you find something to paint in those new houses or the redone main stop. You can count on us.
That's beautiful, Peter. Thank you. Yes, we're going to finish the renovations of the main gravestone, the flagship. I would say in May, that'll all be done, and we'll be moving people in, and it'll definitely need to be painted.
Well, watch out, guys.
Peter, you just volunteered.
Well, I know that. As it was coming out of my mouth, I says, back at it again. Well, here we go. Yep.
Here we go.
I was going to say Charles Pierce had made a little comment there.
Thanks.
And one of the last part of it was about success. Is there a way to measure your success rate, or the number of people that we've saved or gone off and are now productive members of society and don't need your help anymore?
We will, and yes, in our annual report, we have the number of people that go off to school, or we have a program, the Next Step program, which is 4 months prior to somebody wanting to leave and then 6 months after. This started with Hockey Helps the Homeless funding, and it was just to put everything in somebody's favor when they decided that they wanted to leave and move forward. So they have, this covers budgeting, and it covers what to do if you're feeling isolated, from A to Z. So we have that program. And yes, I do have statistics. Of course, we have to for the government and funding. But success is, I mean, one of our residents, he looks very bedraggled. He's cuts his own hair, he wears lots of jewelry, and he walked by a resident and a volunteer playing chess, and he walked by maybe in 10 seconds and said, "You missed checkmate." So we have beautiful, intelligent people here who just will never be part of mainstream society. So success is when this is a gentleman that I've said, "Could you just walk my dog for me?" And he's never had that responsibility. And to see the face just beam from having some responsibility and some connection, that's also successful.
Yeah, very much so. In terms of even when you see people on the street, all you have to do is acknowledge them, and it can make their day, I think.
Exactly. Exactly. So you can't give money to everybody, but just at the beginning, the whole idea of smiling at somebody, it's huge. It's just making that kind of connection. There's nothing mundane about that.
I'm just looking on the website right now, and I'm looking at where it says many thanks to our collaborators. And I see Dawson and McGill and Concordia in there, the Second Harvest in Montreal, of course. Hockey helps the homeless. I thought that was an interesting one. Is that something that's quite new?
No, that's pretty interesting. I had heard through the grapevine about this foundation, and they're actually nationwide. Before we opened Anne's house, I went to speak there, and they've been supportive ever since. So that was in 2014. And they come on board, and they're like the Rotary in the sense that they know who we are. They'll come in, they'll meet with us, they drop things off, they'll have a barbecue. They're a really nice group, and it's a great connection.
And who are Plank?
Oh, Plank is this, Plank, we won a contest about 3 or 4 years ago with Plank. It's a marketing company, and we want to have our website done for free and to help us with marketing. And behind the scenes, Tara Schwartz she used to work at Plank. Well, she's now the head of fundraising over at the MUHC, and she's also on our board. So we were able not only to win the award, get the website, but we were able to get Tara in here too.
Very nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
Super.
excellent. Anybody else? Last chance.
Jim.
Yes, go ahead, Deborah.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi,
Nice to see you.
nice to see
I
you.
remember coming by before COVID, about 4 years ago, and we visited Anne's house. And I was so impressed with Anne's house and the fact that the ladies each had their room and that they could lock their door and they could go and so on. And I was just going to say, seeing the houses is really believing. And I've never forgotten that, going around with you and visiting Anne's house, and the fact that there are so many women that really need a home. And Anne's house, for me, seeing it really made me feel that these women had a home and not just a place to sleep. And also visiting the day place where people were on the computer, the young people were there. I had such a warm feeling, and so I just wanted to share that it made such an impression on me, Anne's house, and the day that we visited. So thank you for the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you, Deborah. Yeah, it's out of all the women, out of the 800 women, I would say 95% asked us the same thing. Do I have my own bathroom? Do I have a door I can lock? Because most of the residences or shelters do not have that. And that was really important for us. And we go back to if we wouldn't want to eat it or wear it or use it or live that way, we don't want our residents to do that as well.
I think the idea of having clean underwear and a brassiere and clean underwear and socks and those kinds of basic necessities. When people are donating, I don't think we think about those needs. We think about other things that we have, and we don't think of the real basic needs.
Mhm.
I think that's really important when you talk about those things to people, to like us, to mention that people are not, they're going around without socks and without underwear.
Mhm.
It's the humanity of the needs and the locked doors, the security that homeless people really are lacking and are afraid. And you made that very clear in your talk, and I think that's really important for us to know. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
I think Harut from the Booth Center has something to say here. Go ahead, Harut.
Yes, thank you, Sheila, for what you do. A couple of things that you said rung in my mind that resonated with me, in the sense that you said that what is success, and how many people are asking what their definition of success is, and we have a predisposed idea of what success might be. And you said it's a broad spectrum, which was, I was happy to hear you say that, because little successes can mount up to greater successes. And, we always aim to try to have somebody return to a sense of normalcy and reconnect, like Jim was saying, how do they reconnect into part of the citizenship? Another thing you mentioned about the dangers of staying too long, you referred to some statistic that if they stay beyond a certain amount of time, that it's now you're working against them returning to sense of normalcy and becoming institutionalized or dependent on your services. Where did you get that information? I'm just curious.
Oh, okay. Just to clarify, it's if you're on the streets for 2 years or more,
Mhm.
then you have a chance of staying on the streets forever.
Oh, I see.
But what you're saying is also very, very relevant, because what we find is that people who come in, who've been in the shelter system for a long time, they are institutionalized. They lose the capacity to make decisions. I was informed by one of the, and I thought this was so interesting, one of our outreach workers at Cabot Park. He said, you can't give Subway cards, gift cards. You can give Tim Hortons, but not Subway. And I thought, why? And he said, because there's too many choices and it's too overwhelming. So there's that aspect of being in the institution for so long, and also that people will go live day by day. We can't say to our residents, where do you see yourself in a year? It's too overwhelming. So being part of the system or be part of a big shelter system is also not conducive after a period of time. You're correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Well, I gotta say, we're a team. It's not me.
Absolutely.
It's I've got a really great team over here. We have a lot of fun too. We have some nice laughs, and they let me bring my dog, and it's all.
That's all that matters.
But yeah, so come on down and see us when the weather gets a little better and Rotary's back on site altogether. And I would say definitely come and see us. So, and also with your paintbrushes when the time comes.
Exactly.
Okay.
What has been your involvement with resilience?
I'm no longer involved with resilience. What I did with Naguset 2 years ago, actually a little more than 2 years ago, we wanted to set up resilience as co-director. So I did a lot behind the scenes in the administrative part. But after about a year and a bit, I passed it on. It was just, there's too much going on in our own homes at this point. And that was my volunteer mandate to set up resilience.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Second last chance. Anybody else? Okay. Listen, Sheila, 11 years you've been there, and like Deborah said, whenever we've been there and seen what's going on and talking with the people that are living there. I remember talking to a few of the guys in the old stone house,
Mhm.
and remarkably intelligent. But we all have our issues, and it's very difficult.
That's it. That's it.
You do. I kind of I enjoy your approach in terms of saying, people don't ask and don't have a choice about being born schizophrenic or having this or that or the next thing. And so we have to make allowances for this. It's not just a question of housing for people, low income housing. It's like people need to be taken care of. And that's what in a more socialistic society that we want or we tend to do. And you're one of the people that makes that happen.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your day, everybody, and thank you for your time.
Take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the spring.
And happy holidays.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.